Hello friends, I'm coming to you today very briefly to talk about endorsements and why I'm in favor of personal endorsements instead of group endorsements. Recently I made a post to Facebook where I was talking about this specific thing, and near the end I wrote a paragraph saying that I have rejected all group endorsements from parties and other councils in my quest to be nonpartisan. And I spoke about how I find it more meaningful to have an endorsement from a neighbor or somebody who actually knows me instead of a relatively faceless or ambiguous organization. And of course, like anything that you post when you're running for a campaign, some people love it, some people hate it. And I had people message me and call me and talk to me in person about it yesterday. So I wanted to talk about these things. Different people will run different types of campaigns. When I started mine, I knew I wanted to be true to myself so that even if I lost, I would feel good about it the entire time, knowing that I was proud of the decisions I made. And one of those decisions was to respect the community aspect of the campaign. To me, it is more important to be endorsed and talked about by somebody who lives by you and works with you and volunteers with you than it is a faceless organization sometimes, as I've used the term before. Last year, my perception of the election for 2023 in April was that it was far too partisan. There were some really important things on the ballot at the state level, and money from parties trickled down to the very smallest offices, including Common Council. And I just don't like that. So I made a very conscious effort to avoid association with either party, either of the big two. And, not everyone's doing that. And that's okay, right? We all have different things that we want to do with our campaigns. But I think it's important to have people on council who are their own person. For me, I want to make decisions that are data-driven and analyzed in good faith by myself. And you can know with confidence that I made the decisions that I did based on the data and my interpretation of our community response to them and what's best for Oshkosh, not what would have fallen in line with a party or a different group. Does that make sense? I understand the importance of other organizations. Let me give you an example of 3 that reached out to me. I was approached by Fair Wisconsin PAC for an endorsement. Ooh, a PAC. They are Wisconsin's LGBTQ civil rights and policy advocacy organization. I was approached by a group called Run for Something. They are a progressive organization that helps recruit and train candidates to run for office because we believe you fit our mold of candidates for Democracy Defender program. Great. And honestly, these things are good and these things are important. And I know they make a difference to a lot of people who vote. I do. I understand their importance. I just think things like this are more important at the state assembly and above, when you have so many people who don't live in your community and you don't know them and you don't have the time or the desire to truly read everything about them or ask your friends. And so you might rely on some of these groups that you find important to make the decision for you. And that's fine and that's valid. It's just not for me. And I morally think that the people who are in charge of certain governance of your city, you should want to know, right? Another one, and this one was hard to ignore. Dear candidate, the Fox Valley Area Labor Council Committee on Political Education is considering endorsements for contested local races in our jurisdiction. So I got the forms for that, and I chose not to approach it. And that one was really hard for me too, because Labor Council, I personally know people who are really involved with Labor Council and unions and workers' rights, and I think all of that stuff is very important. But I still didn't want to pursue it. I may support these things, and I certainly support gay rights and the need to have open and free political elections, like, the points of some of these groups that we talked about here today. I just don't want to be a name on a list, right? And I don't want people to think that because I got an endorsement from these groups, that I'm just going to be voting for their interests. I don't think that we as a society should have elected representatives who just listen to the loudest people in the room or one group and make a decision based on that. And I don't want you to think that that's what I'm doing. So I think an endorsement by a group gives off that impression. And believe me, it is harder to run as your own person because, if I had a party behind me, let's say half of the town would be like, oh, okay, that's my party, great. They wouldn't even get to know me necessarily, they would just vote for me. And the other half of town would be like, oh, I don't like them, they're with those guys. And now I'm right in the middle, right? I am a centrist. I am an individual running for campaign. So it forces you to have to read about me or come to a forum or ask me questions. And I encourage that because it's just what I think we need, and I think it's what we deserve. Individual people in those seats making decisions, data-driven decisions for themselves. I hope that didn't come across as too preachy. And please don't think that I think any other candidates who are seeking political affiliation or endorsements from these groups, I don't think they're bad. I understand their tactics, and I've already talked about why I think they can be good things. It's just not for me, and I hope you understand. What is important for me, though, are personal recommendations, endorsements from people who think this kind of thing is good for our government. And if that's you, I just created an endorsement page on my website. I'm sure I'm showing some footage of that, and links will be in the comments below. I hope you're considering submitting your name and any kind of comment that you'd like. Thank you so much. We've got 6 weeks left, until the April 2nd election. We're in the home stretch. Have a wonderful rest of February, and maybe I'll see you at the Esther Forum or the UWO Forum. Those two things are coming up. I'm hoping there might be something from the League of Women Voters. I'm hoping there might be something from the Chamber. I don't know what's in the pipeline, or interviews from the Herald. It's exciting. It's going to be a great 6 weeks. Anyway, what are your thoughts on endorsements? And if you were in my position, what would you do and why? Thanks for taking the time to watch. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.